Hello everyone, my name is Yaroslav Golubev, and I would like to tell you about the results of our large-scale survey of software refactoring conducted by JetBrains Research and Rochester Institute of Technology. Refactorings are a crucial part of developing software. Modern integrated development environments provide tools and solutions to automatically carry out various refactorings in developers' projects. However, research shows that a lot of developers are reluctant to use these features, opting for refactoring code manually. Therefore, it is necessary to collect the opinions of developers on various refactorings and refactoring features to pinpoint the recurring problems. Existing surveys are typically constrained by a specific language or a relatively small number of participants, so we conducted a more general survey on a larger scale. Our survey consisted of 20 questions that can be divided into 6 sections: background questions about the respondents, questions about the familiarity with refactoring in general, questions about which approaches they use for specific refactoring types, questions about which IDE refactoring features they employ, questions about the use of the preview functionality for refactorings, and lastly, their final thoughts. We sent out this survey to a little under 20,000 paid subscribers of IntelliJ-based IDEs who agreed to participate in such surveys. In total, we received 1,183 complete responses, which makes this the largest survey about refactorings. So, let's get on to the results. The background section consisted of 2 questions. Firstly, we asked the respondents about their experience in coding. As you can see, our respondents are very experienced, with about half having more than 10 years of experience and as much as 79% having more than 5 years of experience. We removed 2 developers who did not have any coding experience from further questions. The second question inquired into the languages that they use. They could select up to 3 options. As can be seen from the top 5 responses, the most popular languages among the participants are JavaScript, Python, PHP, and Java. These languages are very different, so the results of this survey can be used for general insight provided by more than 1,000 of experienced developers. So let's get to the main part of the survey. We start by asking the most general questions. How often the respondents performed code refactoring in the last month? Unsurprisingly, it can be seen that the refactorings are omnipresent in software developers, with almost 80% of participants performing them every week or every day. However, some less experienced participants may actually carry out refactorings without knowing this term. So for participants who gave rarer answers, we asked additional questions: whether they renamed or moved anything in the project. Indeed, it can be seen that the vast majority has, so the number of people who truly did not refactor is rather small. If a participant answered negatively to all 3 questions, we do not consider their responses further on. However, this removed only 14 developers, with the remaining 1,167 continuing to the end. To all respondents who say that they refactored code, we asked the final question in this section: whether they had cases of refactoring code for an hour or more in a single session. It can be seen that this practice is also very popular, with almost 2/3 of developers answering positively. It might be important to study how the existing refactoring tools fare in such continuous environment. Let's get to the specific refactorings. We firstly selected 3 major refactoring groups: renames, extracts, and moves, and inquired about different approaches developers use to carry them out. It can be seen that rename refactorings are universally popular, with only 0.3% of developers saying they did not have a scenario for their use. At the same time, as much as 85.8% of participants use the IDE refactoring feature for renames. As for the extract refactorings, more than 10% of respondents did not encounter a scenario for their use. Also, their IDE feature is less popular, being used by a bit more than half the respondents. The move refactoring feature is less popular yet, and also the move refactorings are the first ones where the IDE refactoring feature is no longer the most popular answer. A lot of developers opt out for simply using copying and paste. It is of interest for us to understand why some developers who need a refactoring do not use the IDE feature. So, we ask them an additional question about their reasons. It can be seen that the most popular answers are that it is easier to conduct refactoring manually, and that the participants were not sure that the automated refactorings would work the way they wanted. Then, we repeated the same line of questioning for 3 less well-known refactorings: inlining, changing the signature, and pulling up, pushing down. Inlining was not encountered by as much as a quarter of respondents. However, half of the respondents still use the IDE refactoring feature. The signature change is more known. However, 42.1% of developers indicated that they carry it out by manual editing. Moving the method up or down the class hierarchy, also known as pulling up or pushing down, has the largest proportion of respondents who did not use this refactoring in their work, almost a third. Moreover, only a little over a quarter of them used the IDE refactoring feature. Once again, we asked the respondents who did not use the IDE refactoring feature for their reasons. The two most popular answers are the same. However, the answer of it being easier to do the refactoring manually is even more popular. Overall, it can be seen that refactorings vary greatly in popularity, and so do different approaches of conducting them, with the most popular refactoring being the rename and the least popular being pull up, push down. Now let's talk specifically about the IDE refactoring features. Firstly, we wanted to inquire about the familiarity and experience with the IDE refactoring features corresponding to the same 6 refactorings we just studied. Firstly, it can be seen that for all the refactorings, the percentage of developers who used the IDE features before but don't plan on doing it again is very small, which is a positive sign. Once again, the most used IDE feature with a large lead is rename, and the least known feature is pull up, push down. Considering developers who use at least one refactoring, we asked about their overall experience with refactorings. It can be seen that the experience is overwhelmingly positive, with 85.5% of respondents giving a positive response. However, it is important to consider the opinion of developers who do not answer positively. We asked them for their comments. Among the concerns that they raised were errors introduced by refactorings, having to spend a lot of time to apply the refactoring, certain refactorings struggling with complex scopes and namespaces, it being difficult to learn about new refactorings, it being difficult to find the refactoring features in the IDE, and even certain refactorings, even though being correct, breaking the code style or the readability of the code. Then, we considered the opinions of all developers that use refactoring features and asked them about how often they had to undo the applied refactoring. The results show that few developers revert the refactorings often and few never do it. The majority lie in between. It is important, though, to understand why developers undo the refactorings, which is what we ask them next. The most popular answer is the result of the refactoring not being what developer expected. Overall, the IDE refactoring features differ in popularity similarly to the refactoring activities in general. While developers are overall happy with the refactoring features, some problems still exist and lead to the majority of developers having to revert refactoring every once in a while. A possible solution to the problems that refactoring features introduce is previewing. This is why we decided to study it specifically. Firstly, we asked developers whether they find the previews of refactoring useful. The response is once again overwhelmingly positive, with more than 80% of developers answering positively. To those who answered positively, we asked 2 more questions. Firstly, we asked them for which refactorings they find the feature the most useful. The results seem to generally correlate with the popularity of refactorings. We also asked for the reasons for using previews. Apart from the obvious most popular answer of making sure that the refactoring will work as expected, respondents specifically mentioned checking that the changes will be contained in a given scope, checking the style and the readability of the resulting code, and even using the preview to check not the IDE but themselves as a sanity check. However, some developers did not answer positively about previews. It is important to hear their reasons as well. Developers provide several reasons for not wanting to see the preview, the most popular being that they can't predict the results of the refactoring themselves. In the final part of the survey, we allow the respondents to freely express their feedback. Many use this chance to reiterate the key points. In general, the messages are very positive. A lot of respondents chose to express their gratitude, going as far as to say that refactorings are the key reasons why they use IDEs at all. We should use this humble motivation to continue our important research. A popular concern, though, was the lack of knowledge about refactorings. It is very important to educate the developers about refactorings by providing visual examples or short tutorials, as well as to use the UI of the IDE to draw their attention to the refactorings. Some developers stated their feeling towards refactorings differ by language. Specifically, dynamically typed languages are still a challenge. Mentioned several times today, a common problem still is the consideration of scopes and namespaces. Some developers express their desire of making certain parts of code a no-go zone. Finally, some developers express their desire for IDE to support larger, more complex refactorings, even if they are implemented imperfectly. We hope that these insights can be used for the development of the next generation smart refactoring features. Thank you very much for your attention. You can find the preprint of the paper and the raw survey data by following these links. Feel free to contact me for further questions, and thank you once again.